Hey everyone, how are we doing? Welcome back from break. Who is in the chat? Oh, got Brian audio in the background. There we go. Brian is no longer talking in the background. We are good to go. If you're in the chat, feel free to say, hey, let's see who's here. We could probably start up some 320 review. Ooh, that'd be some good stuff right here. So many topics in 320. Let's see. If you're in the chat, feel free to say hi. We got some 201, 320, 475. So I saw some people were here watching live. Let's go 1 minute and 20 seconds in. BAS 320 reviewing for midterm. Let's go take a look at a little bit reviewing for midterm. Let's go open up a new sheet. And let's do this right here. Here we go. Let's go to the main screen and check it out. Okay, got our coffee. Just going to relax a little bit right here and do a little midterm reviewing. Hey, Jalen, great to see you here. Drop a question in the chat. It's currently open questions. I'm getting random calls from random people. Who knows what's going on? But drop a question in the chat if you got it. We're going to look at some questions right here for the BS 320 class. What is going on? Maybe I'll try to fix it later. Green screening. Fun stuff. Random call. Fun stuff too. Let's take a look right here. And I'm going to make our font bigger. If you have questions right now, let us know. Let me go here to library, open up the red class library. Data survey 10, everyone's favorite survey. We're going to attach it. Are we allowed to ask? Yeah, drop a Canvas content. We'll do that next right here. You got it. We'll do some Canvas content. Let me know. We'll do that one. Great answer, Jalen, or great questions. We'll do it. Yeah, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. You never know. And so we're going to take a look right here. We'll take a little regression. So it'll be a little 2-1 crossover as you get your question ready. And let's make a model. This is just regression right here with height and weight from data survey 10. And this is why I love using things like R, because we can visualize this regression really quickly. And you'll notice that we have issues with outliers. There's some big outliers down here, outlier over here, and there might be some non-linearity of the model. The line doesn't look to go through the center of the data over there. We can actually make a residual plot. I think if we actually go to plot will this work? I've never really done that. Doesn't it? Ooh, it's gonna do it. So that is the residuals right there, and it's actually showing, that's a decent residual plot right there. You can see it's showing kind of the bend of the model, and there's the line, and we're seeing outliers. There's the rows of the outliers. So that's not good right there. This is the normality of the residuals. We talked about this in 320. The normality of the residuals has problems. That's a 320 concept. This right here is the standardized residual, so it's giving a scale to it, and the fitted model. I don't use that plot quite often. And here's another standardized residual with leverage plot. We've got another way to look at this with the influence plot. We actually use influence plot to look at our model with this right here, so a similar plot. My question, good question, Jalen. We'll do that next. We'll talk about the predicted and the observed and the actual good stuff right there. Yeah, so we'll take the notation. Yeah, let's do that here in a second, Jalen. We'll do that. We'll write the notation and we'll get it. Because what is a residual, Jalen? Like if we define what a residual is, like we've got a residual plot right here. What is a residual? Like when you see this residual, let's say it's 11 or something like that. I can actually find that residual pretty quickly. If I go to this, that residual is 13.1. What does that mean right there for that point, Jalen? What does that mean? So that is the residual. I might be able to help you figure it out with this right here. So I know that that point that you're seeing right there has a residual, and that is in notation E equals to 13.15. So what does that mean that it has a residual of 13.15? If you look at the visual, it's right here. So what does that mean when I say it has a residual of 13.15? So what does that mean that it has a residual of 13.15? What can you like explain to me, like it has a residual of 13.15? What does that mean? So think conceptually about like if it has a residual of 13.15, it is what right now? So E right here, this distance right here visually on the screen is 13.15. What does that mean? So we have right here, that is equal to 13.15. What does that mean that is 13.15? So we'll put a few more notations on the screen to help out with this. This is the actual, which is the y value, and this is the predicted down here, which is the y hat. The line gives predictions. So can you explain to me, like, conceptually, what does that 13.15 mean about the actual and the predicted? So, like, look at we have the actual, which is the y value. And so this is where the point actually is. When I say actual, I'm saying, like, it hits right here. The actual, like, y is equal to 75. And y hat, we might not know right now. But I can tell you y hat. I can solve for y hat right here. And so I think this will help right here if we see how could we solve for y hat and stuff. Does that mean it's the difference between the actual? It's great job, Jalen. 100 points right there. It's the difference between the actual and the predicted, right? Great job. That's exactly what we're looking for. So the residual is the difference between the actual and the predicted. Now, be careful though, because some things have negative residuals. Negative residuals would be when the actual is what to the predicted. So here's the actual, and I'll stop blocking the screen right there. And here's the predicted up here. So if the residual is negative, then the actual must be what to the predicted. If the residual is negative, then the actual must be what to the predicted. Where over here, you see the actual is above it. If the residual is negative, then the residual would be what? And actual is observed. That's what we observe. So if the residual is negative, like that I could find out what that negative residual is. Let me find out right here. It's going to be the lowest one. That is negative 21 right there, negative 21.4. That residual is negative 21.4. And what does that mean? That actual value is what to its predicted value. So try to explain conceptually, like, oh, since the residual is negative 21.4, then the actual value is blank units to blank of the predicted. Not that it's too low. Good answers right there, Dylan. 100 points. So when you interpret this right here, so that value that I'm currently blocking on the screen, the value right behind me right here, we would say that the actual or the observed value is 21.4 below the predicted, where over here we would say that the actual value is 13.15 above the predicted. So your residual is positive or negative. Just put a positive or negative in the chat for your residual. So if your residual is positive, so your residual is positive, right? Your residual is 1.2. And so now what does that mean? That would mean what? And let's think about this. We have here E equals actual, or we could say observed. We could say residual equals observed minus predicted. That's using that wording. I like to say actual. You'll see me call the observed the actual. These are all synonymous things right here. I'm just putting the notation versus the other ways of doing it. So since yours is positive, what does this mean? And I've got equations written for you to help out right here, Jalen. So what do you think you need to do right here? Because you have two of these values. So what can you do right here? Are you seeing it, Jalen? Hopefully this is helping to be like, okay, I have a positive residual and I want to find out the predicted value. And you can, if you think about it, if you have a positive residual and you know the observed, so if you know what the observed value is and you have a positive residual, the predicted should be down here, and you maybe can figure it out quickly mathematically. You can plug into the equations right here with the observed and the residual and find the predicted. But what are you thinking, Jalen? Tell me what you're thinking right here. I'm trying to make sure we see the concept also, and then you can kind of solve it right here. But what are you thinking? So how does the equation look? How does it solve out right here? So you have a positive residual. Your residual is 1.2. Oh my gosh. 1.2. You also know the observed value is 24.6. So that's the information you know right there, and you want to solve for the predicted. So then think about where the predicted would also be. If you know the observed values up here because the residual is positive, like this is not the actual value, like that is not the value we're looking for, but you do know that the residual is positive, which means that the observed value has to be above the predicted. So that's the difference right there. And so what do you think the predicted would be? So what? Oh, I'm on top chat still. No. Do I need to subtract? I think so. Tell me what you think the answer is. I'll tell you what I'll tell you if you get the answer. And so just think about like conceptually, the biggest thing to know is the concept to be like, okay, if the residual is positive, then the observed is higher than the predicted. So this is the distance right here that they're apart, that the observed and the predicted are apart. This is the distance right here, and we need to solve. I think you're saying well, kind of. Let's see which way it goes. I think you're and solving the equation is the way to go right here. I think you're basically solving the equation. What do you get as an answer? And then think about it. Does it make sense conceptually? Like, then be like, okay, wait, this is the distance the two are apart. And if it's positive, the actual is higher than the predicted. So like try to solve it and then, yep, Jalen, great work. 100 points right there. Is that making sense conceptually, Jalen? I love teaching online because it's like, I'm like trying to read as your answers go and being like, okay, is this making sense? Does that make sense that is the distance? It's 1.2. And then when you look at it, you say, okay, wait a minute. The actual is 1.2 higher than the predicted. Does that make sense? Like when you look at it, you're like, okay, the predicted's this, the actual is 1.2 above it because that's the residual. So knowing we can solve for the third value, and yeah, hopefully I think that's making sense right there. Like when you look at it to say, okay, the residual is 1.2, which means that distance that they are apart is 1.2. And you should look at your numbers and double confirm, be like, okay, my actual is 1.2 higher than my predicted. I'm just repeating. But no, great work right there, Jalen. Ask more questions if you got it. We could do more Canvas content questions, but that's a really good review of what a residual is. Yes, Jalen, great practice. Good practice, Jalen. Yeah, let's do another kind of 320. I like doing 320, 201 crossovers. Ask more questions about Canvas content if you want. Kind of like a secret Canvas content question for people watching here. But we need to know what residuals are. And here's the thing we do in 320. So let's put a note right here. Stats 1, Canvas content, residuals question. Can you explain chapter 8 question about the blue dots? It's number 3 for me on my Pearson. Let's check that out here. You got it, Casey. Let's do it. Okay, so we have chapter 8. Let's put a note right here. 1330. Stat 201, chapter 8, homework 3, blue dots. Oh, is this the pots? Is it the pots question with the ceramic pots and they're broken pieces, ceramic pots, broken pieces? I think that's got blue dots. I think. Maybe, maybe not. I need all the coffee today. Let's go take a look at this. Blue dots. We will find those blue dots. We will interpret them. Oh, oh, Kayla, good to see you here. Wait, yes, wait, no. Oh, it's a quiz question. Okay, so quiz question. Kayla, you got it. We'll do that one next right here. And a quiz question. Let me see. Quiz questions are a different order for me. I think you know that. You were saying it's 3 for me, so what's the question? There's a multiple blue dots question. You have to match the new correlation. How does the question start? Oh, is it like matching correlations? Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Is it blue and red dots? Is it the scatter plot shows blue dots, blue data? All right. I think this has got it. Let's go check it out. Need a new timestamp. You got it. Let's go check it out. Here we go. Let's go do it. Okay, so we've got here the blue dots and the correlation, the dots. And so what we should know is the start of this graphic actually shows a super weak correlation. Why is it a super weak correlation? That's an amazing graphic right there. Is because if you actually draw around the blue dots, you get a 0. So right now, correlation is equal to 0. What can outliers do to correlation? What can outliers do to R squared? Outliers to regression to R squared correlation can do what? Keynote for your test: when it comes to the slope of the line, the intercept of a line, the R squared of a line, the correlation between data. Does it look static? Like, it is. No, it's me. I might try to fix that between the next thing. Remind me, Kayla, and we'll take a quick moment. I don't know what I changed. It is. I see it. Don't look at it. We'll fix it at the next quick break. I have to go to the other screen. It's sometimes times of day or something. It's like, let me touch that part. Is it? I might be able to fix it. It's there. It's gotta be this light. 2 seconds. I fixed it. It was too bright. You bet, Dalen. We can do that here in a moment. You got it. I think that fixed it. Yep. You have to like literally change the brightness of lights sometimes. It's a lot of fun. So with this right here, you have to have your green screen so evenly lit. With this right here, that has a correlation of 0. And with a correlation of 0, these points can drastically impact, and as Casey said right there, anything, these points can drastically impact it. So if you look at this red point up here, these are the easy ones. This point up here would drastically increase the correlation. This point down here would drastically decrease the correlation. So these dots, these red dots, can do anything. There's a few tough ones, but the easy ones for us are going to be the ones that really increase or decrease it. Like A is going to drastically increase it. That's an easy one. E is going to drastically decrease it. That's an easy one. Now, D is going to make it more what? Positive or negative in the chat for 100 points. D is going to make it more what? Like, clear to tell that D, point D, when you look at it, is going to make this correlation more what? Not quite as strong as the others, but D is going to make the correlation more what? So you look at D and you're like, yeah, D is going to make it more this. Definitely more this. D is going to make the correlation more what? Negative, exactly. So we want to look for one that's more negative, and this is the one that's a little bit more negative right here. That's going to be D. Now we get into the tough ones. Here is one that is a concept that a lot of people wouldn't know. I mean, it's just really tough. Like, these are the tough points to understand. This concept right here is that if something is directly on the mean of the x's, the line would have the same slope, but the intercept would change. And we're talking about point C right here. So, oh, great job, Casey, right there. C is the hardest one. Like, C is the hardest one because C is going to still have a correlation of what? Because it doesn't really make the line go in a slope direction. It's just pulling the line downward. So the correlation would still be what here with C? With C, the correlation is still going to be what? So if we add in point C, like if you were to add in point C, the correlation would still be this. Because it's just going to make the line do this. It's not going to change the slope of the line. If you add in point C, the correlation's still this value. Because the line doesn't go up or down. Exactly, Casey. Great answers right there, Casey. Another 100 points, Casey. Keep it up. Great work. Yeah, I like when people say, like, oh, this makes a lot more sense. That's what we're here to do. And then B makes it a little bit more positive. So good work right there. Good question. Man, was it like on last week? Like, I got like 5 questions wrong or something. They're like, I'm done with this guy. He doesn't know how to do stats. And I'm like, I'm sorry. My brain was fried. Kristen, great to see you here. Kristen, excellent work. We're doing a whole bunch of stats right here. I think we got Kayla's question next. Then Jalen's got a question. So let's check it out. Jalen's got the 1950s through 1980s horse race or something. Fastest cyclist question. We're going to do that one here in a little bit. Stat Tool 1, Chapter 8, fastest cyclist. And then Kayla said, can we do, the static. Can we do assignment number 6, 2B? Let's take a look at that. So, BAS 320. Here, let's go to the main screen. BAS 320, assignment 6, question 2B, or not. But how's everyone doing today in the chat? Definitely have a question about the quiz too. Yeah, Kristen, drop those questions about the quiz. Let me know. We are waking up. It was a good spring break. It was too. I played so many video games. Relaxed. I beat Bloodborne. So I've got no more Bloodborne. Bloodborne's over. I could get the DLC. I should do that. But it's sad when you beat a video game. You beat the video game, you're like, well, now I've got to play more video games. And that's the real tragedy. The tragedy of more video games. Now I got to get Elden Ring. Well, no, I'm behind because I haven't played Demon Souls, Sakura. Busy. So many midterms this week. Yeah. Good. It was a good spring break. It was a good time. Like, we played a lot of Horizon Forbidden West also. Really great game, the Horizon series. Aloy. Good stuff right there. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's take a look at this on 2B right here. Take the timestamp. 21:20. Let's do this. I know the feeling. It feels like you're in a loop sometime, Kayla. Oh, no, it's too funny. Kayla, you're cracking me up in the chat. Well, thank you for all you do, Kayla, right there. I'm sure the babies are very happy with you. Okay, load in the EX3 housing data frame and via the data function right here. Boop. And so you have to have reg class loaded in. And so if you have reg class loaded in, that will load in. And we are going right here using the book. So I got to go grab the book again real quick. 2 moments right here. I'm going to go grab the book. And the book can be found under the modules. And I'm going to download the homework packet for the 50th time. We could... Oh, it says bad gateway. We love it when it says that. We're going to page 127. Chapter 3, exercise 4. Page 127. Okay, here we go. Page 127. Okay. And exercise 4. Okay. So here it is right here. And let's take a look. This data set tabulates the selling prices in square foots of 500 houses in Massachusetts. Companies like Zillow and Trulia employ statistical modelers to incorporate all this great stuff. Unfortunately, the relationship is not well described by a linear model. A very common transformation is the log-log pair, although it's not the transformation pair that gives the highest R squared. Let's use it, fit this transformation model, and examine the visualization. Are the statistical tests of the assumptions passed? If not, does it look like the linear regression is appropriate for modeling the transformation? Okay, so we need to predict right here price, and do take a look. It does say log 10. Now, I think one of the most common... Hey, Kai, great to see you here. So Kayla, tell me this. I think one of the most common issues with this might be... so let's go right here and create our model. Not destroy our R chunk. With creating our model... We want to go to EX3 housing, and we're predicting the price. But Kayla, here's the issue. Is this what you did here, Kayla? Yes or no? And so this is probably a common error with this question. Is that what you did right there? But no, yes, I think, I don't think it'll have the log 10, but did you do this right here? There's a few solves for this, but I'm guessing maybe this right here, and I'll explain what the issue is. I'm gonna throw 100 points in the chat because this is a very small issue, but will cause a large issue in a moment. So no, you didn't. Oh, you might have done it right then. Oh. Did you do this? There's what we want to do. So we want to do that right there. You might have done that. Great work if you did. Hopefully I get the right output. We'll find out. We're creating variables right here as we speak. We've got our X transformed and our Y transformed variable. We want to fit the model. So let's go to m.transformed. Sometimes we make a transform model, denote it that way. And x tilde y, y tilde x. I did just that. Awesome. Well, let's hope it comes out correct right here. Summary m.trans. And 1.21, 1.25. Is that what it says right here? It's rounded, yeah. Yeah, that rounds up to 1.26. So if you take a look at, are you getting these coefficients right here, Kayla? If you notice, it is 1.21 is the intercept, and 1.25, which rounds to 1.26, are the values right here, 1.21 and 1.26. Those are the values with the log 10 performed on them. So does that make sense right there, Kayla? Can we reach chapter 8 quiz, average speed? Yeah, the cyclist question, I think so. Is that the cyclist one? I think it is, and we can definitely do that. And so now we have this model right here. We're going to then untransform it, and we'll talk about that right here. Awesome. All Are the statistical tests passed? Well, to check the statistical tests, and let's look at this model. Visualize model, the M transformed. What is the quickest, or what is one of the issues you see right here that's probably an issue? Now we'll run this cycle question. Oh, we got that, you bet. What condition do you think is violated by looking at this? I will throw 500 points. If anyone can tell me what condition. Oh, good questions. Kristen and Casey right there. What condition do you think is violated at this? So QQ straight enough, no outliers, plot doesn't thicken. You're about to see the 320 way to do this. So we have advanced ways in the upper level classes to look at these and to consider if there's problems. I agree, Kayla right there. Kayla getting all the points. I think there's a thickness issue with the QQ straight. I don't know about maybe you're right. Maybe there's a linearity issue. The line looks to go through, but I see a little thickness issue. So the answer is Kayla, another 100 points. There's actually a linearity issue, but I would say the bigger issue is maybe the plot thickening. There looks to be some thickness. And also, what's this over here, Kayla? There is a problem over here on the high side with the what? What is the last issue you see over here for another 100 points? We've just hit every button 1,000 times. What is the last issue you see over here, which is a moderate issue, I would say. There's some issues with this, and this one points to the issue right here, which we're seeing with what? So we do see the normality of the residuals. Great job right there. So I see and it fails every condition. So when we look at it, we're like, okay, there's problems with linearity. There's problems with normality of residuals. There's problems with equal spreads. The linearity has the highest p-value. It still fails. It still fails the linearity due to a p-value less than 0.05. I don't see a big issue with the plot because it's like a low p-value, but not like the zeros we're getting for the other ones. But the conditions are not met for this. Overall, the issues are kind of moderate. They're not super bad for this. Now, the untransforming, which is the thing you were asking about, and great questions on Discord and everything, keep asking them. Like, I can explain, go into detail, especially during office hours or on Discord too. The untransforming is a big thing right here. And log 10, my brain's going to have to like boot up to be a boop, 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 is a fun thing to do. Let's have some fun with some log 10. So let's take this equation right here. And this is the equation that we are getting, and let's show it on the screen here at the same time. This is the equation we are getting right here, because 1.21 is the what of this model. 1.21 is the what of this, and this looks just like your jump output. 1.21 is the what of this model, and I'll write the numbers below it so we can see it, but 1.21 is the what of that model. 1.21 is the what of that model. It's the intercept, exactly. So it's just like 201. That's the value of 1.21 is the intercept. And then 1.26, it rounds to that, is the slope coefficient. And then we've transformed the x variable by log 10ing it so we can get a better relationship between the variables. Great job right there, Casey and Kayla. Great practice, 201. I love that. Knowing this is like, yeah, we'd use this in our other classes too. And so what we have to do is when we untransform an equation, we're just asking to solve for what? If I say untransform this equation, I'm just telling you solve for this, Kayla. So, and I'll show you as I start to do it. If I say untransform this equation, I'm just asking you to do what? And frankly, I would accept once we do this right here. If I say untransform this equation, I'm just saying solve for what? Solve for y. Because now we get, and this is actually a fine thing to do. We could reduce it, but I hate algebra. So please tell me if you think the graders, like, because I would accept this. This right here, because the computer can just solve the rest of the algebra for us. I am totally fine with that. Like, we don't have to worry about connecting things and solving it. Like, we're not here to solve algebra. That's the solve. Like, that's all we need to do. I despise algebra. Well, guess what? We need to use as little algebra as possible. What we do need to know is the what concept right here. Like, this is a concept you would need to know. What do you need to know about this right here, Kayla? What am I trying to show you by saying if you take something that has a log 10 and do 10 raised to log 10, what am I trying to tell you about those two right here? It was good, Adam. Great stuff right there. Tell it to question 4. Well, you can do as little as possible. Abigail, great to see you too. We're about to do another 201 after this right here. But what am I trying to tell you with that red box right there between the two? And then after that, it's like, we don't got to do too much. else, it cancels out. Exactly. If you have something that's been log 10, you can 10 raised to that log 10, the two connecting right there cancel. And so at that point, and I think things added together in a radical or in the exponent are then multiplied. So you can algebra this around and work it out and have some fun with it. But I'm going to be like, I'm good with this. Like I personally would turn this in and be like, sure, you can plug in a value of X and get a value of Y. So that's all I really care about when we talk about untransforming stuff. It's like put in a value of X and you get a value of Y, because we want, what's the point of untransforming? We want the units of Y to not be transformed units. Does that make sense, Kayla? Like the units of Y is what we're solving for. Like give me a value of X, and then when you give me that value of X, I can tell you the value of Y, and it won't be in log units. Like it's not log 10 price anymore. It's actually the price of a home. So whatever area you give me right now, like if you plug in an area value right there and solve the equation, you will get an actual price of a home. You won't get a log 10 price. So that's why we do this, is we don't want to get an answer that is in transformed units when we tell someone, here's the price of a home. We just want to say the price of the home is this. So we're solving for Y in non-transformed units. And that's why you untransform stuff. Like, why would we do this? I think you got me. Nice job. We're going to head back to the main screen and do some tool 1, but ask more 320 questions and we'll do them. Okay, it's time for the cyclist question. Got that energy. Out of coffee again. Now we're officially out of coffee. We have open questions after this, so drop those questions in the chat. We have review tonight also. Review for 320. Gonna play some Kahoot. Tool 1, swing by the Kahoot. If a Tool 1er won the Kahoot, I would lose my mind. In a good way. I'd be like, what? I would say, wow. How is that? Oh, no, I know what I would say. I would say, wow. How is that even possible? You never know. I just think it'd be so crazy. We're gonna find that cyclist question. There's not that many questions on chapter 8. The cyclist question. Gestation question. Here we go, hundreds of years ago. Okay, and we're pretty good. That's a Kahoot that Epic Wolf can't hand on it. Try it out, Kristen. You never know. You never know till you play. No, I'll tell you, the 320 Kahoots don't have a ton of people in them, so you never know. It's 201. Join in a 320 Kahoot. See what happens. So here we are with hundreds of years ago, the cyclist competition. We have 41.4 was the speed at which they were going. It'll be at 4:30 tonight. So, and you'll see it as one of the videos coming up. But yeah, join in, have some fun if you want. Your call. You might win. You never know. Come in third place. First place either. Tonight. And so we have here the year. Now, when you look at this data, what is the first thing you notice about the data right here with 1914 to 1919? What is the first thing you notice? It's right after one. Yep, it is. Oh yeah, Kayla did. Yeah. We've had 201ers play. What do you notice about the data right here from 1939 to 1947? Who's noticing like 1939, 1947, 1914, 1919, 1914, 1919? What's going on right here? Then we have right here 1939, 1947. What's going on right here? Yeah, Kristen, do it. It'd be fun. Kayla will be rooting you on right there. 100 points. Join in. What do you notice right here with we are missing years? We've got gaps in the data. So there's gaps in the data due to the world wars. They didn't have the cyclist competition. This one does not have a gap for the First World War. There's no gaps in that data. I'm looking for gaps, which we don't have. I'll show you one that does. It's going to be this first one. There's a gap right here, war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. So there's a gap right here. There's a gap right here, and this is from the 1914 to 1919 and like 1939 to 1947. My grandparents were born. Parents born here in 1950. Grandparents, man, all throughout the 1900s. So yeah, I think it's right. So that is our graphic right there. Does the relationship, got some interesting stuff. Does the relationship of, what is the relationship of average speed by year being careful to point out any unusual features in the plot? So we have two ideas right here. There were no races between these years. This is going to drive me nuts because we're like, the subjective questions are the absolute hardest. This is linear. Like, this is linear right here. This is not linear. I think this question is a contradiction. Right here. No, the relationship is not straight enough in the early part of the 20th century to fit a regression line. I think that's going to be right there. Okay. They're not. It's not straight enough at the start. So this one on the conditions. Does that make sense, Kristen? Right there, like the first one right here, or this question right here is really giving some good stuff. And I think this one drives me nuts because what we see right here with this one, this is what drives me nuts about it. And I would give you your points back. Like, we're gonna cross our fingers on this. I think they say it's generally linear, but there are problems. So we'll see if we get it right. It is important to note that there is non-linearity at the start of the graphic. And that's what that makes clear down here. So that one I'm 100% certain on. Watch me get it wrong now. And then this one's the one I'm a little bit concerned about because I think they have us make the equation because it's generally linear. Now, aside from this, what we need to do right here is we need to bring this data into jump. So I had a code. Oh my gosh, Kaya. Oh my gosh, Kaya. 100 points right there, Kaya. Definitely get those. We're going to go right here. So watch the steps right here, Kaya. They're so awesome. I need to go get one again now. I'll go buy one next time at HEB. Copy to clipboard right here. Boop. And then after we copy it, Control C. We're going to go over here to jump. And we're going to go to File, New Data Table. So I'm pausing so you can follow through with the steps right here. We're going to go to a new data table. And very importantly, yeah, we'll do gestation. You got it, Christian. We'll do that one here next. We're going to take the data and we're going to go to Edit and paste with column names. This is so important. Oh, I'm too addicted, Kristen. It's sad. And so now we've got it pasted with column names. Oh yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I sometimes would drink like 3 of them in a day. Don't tell anybody, but it's so good. It's like, oh my god, it's like Starburst or something like that. Like really awesome. Like it's like strawberry Starburst or something. So we're gonna fit the Y by X. And we're gonna put the year and the X right here. So why do we need to do this? We need to do this right here to get the what. What am I trying to get right here by fitting Y by X? Oh yeah. We need to do what right here? I told Chelsea about everyone asking about our registry, and she was like, what? We need to get the what for our model. So good 320-201 question. What do we need for our model right here? What do we need? What do we need to get for our model right here? What do we need to get for the model? What do we need to get for the model right here? We need the what? Oh, thank you, Kayla. What do we need to get for our model? We're looking for 2 values that are very important to this. And you can really see the non-linearity at the start. You can see the problem with the line. Not very. What do you see? What are we trying to get for the model right here? We're trying to get the what? We're trying to get the what? What 2 values? Regression equation, Christian, exactly. The slope and the intercept. So the slope value is this right here. We'll put the 0.1 before it. That's the slope value. Round the constant to 2 decimals. So about that one. Round the year coefficient to 3. Rounding's where all the errors are going to occur. Rounding is just not our friend. And then it says to 2 decimals for this. Now, don't forget that this is negative. It's a huge extrapolation because we're talking about like in year 0 if we do that. And if you ever have a rounding issue, just tell me. But a very important thing to know is the negative and positive signs here, or the negative sign, is super important. So I think we've done everything correctly. Let's not have a bad day right here. Let's have an awesome day. 100. We've done it.
Wow.
So one of my only qualms with this question, I've done it so many times now, I know it's tricks. When it says general linear trend, there is a general linear trend, especially for this portion. But if you ask, like, are there issues with this? Yes. The best way to do this question is to take the data to put in jump. I'll do those steps again here to show again the process of clicking the button right here, going right here, and copying to clipboard. So pause the video if you need to, or I'll do some slight pauses right here. It's generally linear, but the first part of the graphic has problems. Like, I know that's slightly contradictory. I've done these questions a lot. So we're going to copy it here, Control C. And if you get one of those like subjective questions wrong, you're like, hey, Brian, you said you'd give points back. Just email me and you get those points back. Sorry for the subjectivity questions. I hate them. Then we're going to go right here. And then we're going to go to paste with column names. Once we paste, now make sure these are blue. That's a common error right there. If you don't paste with column names, they won't be blue. Blue means it's quantitative. So we have to have two quantitative variables to do regression with the fit y by x platform. So once we go to fit y by x and they're both blue, we're going to say we're going to use year as the x variable to predict the average speed of a cyclist. And so now we're going to go ahead and click OK. Regression. Yeah, you probably could. I think it will. I think it takes the vectors long enough. If it has an issue, tell me. Please tell me. The regression solver probably should do it. I think I made it take enough data. It should take enough. I think I had it extend. I think I updated it because someone noticed it didn't take like enough rows. So I updated it. I think I fixed that. That was an issue someone pointed out one time. If you get it wrong via the regression solver, just tell me, and then you don't do it. So now we're going to go here to the fit line. And this, if there's ever any issues, just tell me right away and I'll fix things or like give points back. And there's the equation, all that good stuff. You bet, Kristen. Great job right there. And so Kayla, what do you notice right here? Do we have, oh, we don't have a lack of fit. Darn, lack of fit not appearing. Well, that's got that question. Let's do the gestation question. So we're going to head over here and do the gestation question. Let's do it. Okay. Great work. I don't have jump. Oh, that's totally fine. Totally fine. No jump. No problem. No jump. No problem. That's what we say here on Stat 201. It's good to be back, everybody. I'm getting that energy right now. Chapter 8. Gestation question. This is the fun time right here. It's just a relaxing, getting work done time. And yeah, it's good to see everybody here. Bond question. We haven't done the bond question yet. Okay, let's do the gestation question. Here we go. Checking the times. Gestation question. Here we go. So with this question, we're looking at gestations of animals and humans. And we see here an R, which is correlation. You're welcome. Anytime. R is correlation, which tells us if there is a positive or negative relationship between the two variables. We see a positive relationship here, where generally things with higher life expectancy would be expected to have a higher gestation, as in they take longer to have a baby. You see right here, humans with the 3 trimesters, about 82 days or so, something around that, like an average. Is a trimester, I mean, I think of it as 30 days, but we're looking at the, life expectancy. Oh, there's the gestation. Oh, 9 months is not 90 days. I don't know what I was thinking right there. Humans are expected to live 80 years, and 9 months is more like 270 days. My brain is booting up right now. But there's the gestation, and we're predicting the gestation, the Y variable, in days based on life expectancy. Humans don't really fit this pattern, though. We have one of the longer gestation periods. Something down here. Man, could you imagine this? What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 50 days. It's like 2 months. It's like you'd already, the thing already had a baby. I don't know what that is. Maybe dogs, cats. I don't know what the gestation period is for those, but pretty interesting. But things that live longer generally have longer gestation periods. Kind of makes sense. So the correlation right here is kind of strong. This is not a very strong relationship. Do you think the association would be stronger if humans were removed? So if we remove humans, let's take a look at this visually right here. Removing humans would do the following. Here's the correlation right now. The correlation looks like this. And if we remove humans, what do you think the correlation would be? So remember, the more it looks like a 0, the weaker it is. The more it looks like a 1, the stronger it is. And what I'm talking about is like this. Does that look more like a 0 or more like a 1? I'm kind of drawing a smaller version of it. So if it looks more like a 1, it's stronger because 1 is the stronger. If it looks more like a 0, it's weaker. And so do you think removing humans would make this a stronger relationship, or would it make it weaker? Do you think it would make it a stronger? It'd go towards 1, right, Kaya? Great work right there. It would be stronger. So there's a stronger relationship right here with humans removed. And it's not because it's easier to fit a line through fewer points. It's because humans are kind of decreasing the relationship. They're pulling away from the centrality of the data, like where the major points are kind of creating a relationship. So both the slope and the correlation would increase, so much stronger with humans removed. Is there justification? There is sometimes justification for removing outliers, and we could just restrict this data set to non-humans. So yes, restricting it to non-humans would justify it, so good stuff right there. Here we go with the coefficients. This looks similar to like your outputs for jump and other things, where you get down here whoops, didn't want to go full screen on that. I want to go right here and talk about just this output. They're basically trying to mimic, they're trying to mimic the output right here with the constant, and that's the coefficient right there of the intercept, and then the life expectancy. These are two different like equations from different questions, but the constant is the intercept. I hate that they call it constant. Some people do that, so they show you it in an example sometimes. Nice job right there, Casey. Another 100 points right there. Casey, keep up the great work. Life expectancy right here is going to be the slope coefficient. So that's what they're giving you right there. The association is moderately strong. The intercept of the line on average for each 1 year increase in life expectancy, the gestation period is expected to increase. And then we need the coefficient of the intercept right here, round to 2 decimals, 12.98. And they just show you that twice. A certain mammal has a life expectancy of this right here. So what we want to do is we want to practice writing the equation. This is a good practice right here to see if you can do this. Last question on this. And drop more questions. We already got our first 100 on the quiz right here. Great work. I really think Chapter 8's not so bad. Like, no, like, I want to give you a big shout out right there. But I don't want people to be afraid of Chapter 8. I don't want people like, oh my gosh, Chapter 8. No, you got this. Like, you got this. Like, you got to have that energy. Be like, I can do this. Like, Casey's like, I got this. Get that 100. Yes. I learned the material. Get those hundreds. What we're going to do is we're going to write the equation right here. And we're going to know that this value right here is B0 and this is B1. That's the R squared, which we're not using right now. But we'd have here that Y hat equals B0 plus B1X. And when we do that in context right here, the context we are predicting gestation. So we'll write gest equals, and then B0 is 91.1842 plus, and then right here, 12.9792 life expectancy. And it said a certain mammal has a 15-year life expectancy. With a certain mammal having a 15-year life expectancy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply take and plug in 15 for the value right there. So with 15 plugged in, I can now solve the equation to get the gestation period that we would estimate for this mammal. And we take 15, we plug in, do 12.979.2, add to it the intercept of 91.1842. We make sure we didn't make any math errors, cross your fingers, because math errors are the #1 culprit of how we get things wrong. Then round to 1 decimal. I think that's got it. I think. Always so scared. Woo! What should we do next? We just got the gestation question done. We could do so I think we just did question 1, right? We could do the bonds question. We haven't done the bonds one yet, so maybe we'll just do all of chapter 8. You never know. Okay, let's go do the bonds question. Why not? Head over to the main screen. Drop those questions in the chat if you got them. But we are going to do the bonds question right now, it looks like. But 324.75, let me know. Let's put a 4905 stat 201 chapter 8 bonds question. Okay, and let's go check it out right here. So once again, we're doing some regression right now and just making sure we understand what we have up here. The intercept is the coefficient of the intercept, that is B0. The slope is the value right here. That's the value of the x variable. And let's put some notes on this. It always helps to mark what you see on the screen and understand it. When we write our regression equation, which we will probably do in this question, we have here B0, B1, and we have here Y hat equals B0 plus B1X. So X is years since 1950. So how many ever years since 1950 is going to be what X is. And then we are predicting Y hat. Hat means predicted value of Y. And that's the rate in percent of the bonds right there. And then we would plug in the values right here for B0, and we'd plug in the value of B1 respectively. So we understand what this output is giving us. It's giving us the regression equation. What is the correlation? Now, here's an important thing. Correlation is R, but we have R squared. Now, when we do this, this is one of those teaching to the test moments. I'm going to take R squared. It should be taken as a decimal right now. And then I'm going to square root it, and then I have to look at the what of the line. So I'm going to take my R squared, square root it, and then check the what of the line. I could look at the slope for this, so I could look right there at the 0.24. But I'm trying to find out the what of the line that I need to know about correlation. Anytime you square root R squared, you need to look at the what of the line, either by looking at it visually or by looking at the coefficient of the slope and finding out the what of the line. Who knows, for 100 points in the chat, whenever you go from R squared to R, you must then ask, what is the what of the line? Very good teaching to the test moment right here. So we try to always like bring these Mike Pearson things back to like, what might we need to know on the test? Conceptually, if you go from R squared to R, so we had R squared and we square rooted it, now we need to look at the what of the line. Let's see what people say if anyone gets in the chat here. Once you go from R squared and square root it to get R, you need to then look at the direction or slope or sign of the line. And we see it's positive, i.e. the slope is positive. So this would not be negative 0.84, it's positive. And we know this because the line goes up, and that's the same thing as the slope going up. So this would be our answer here for the correlation, and it's positive correlation because we can see it goes up and the slope is positive. Just double confirmation about that answer. So once again, when you go from R squared to R, you want to square root R squared and then check the sign to make sure you know what direction it goes. Interpret the slope in context. On average, the interest rates during this period, this is the slope. So it increased. There's the positive. Add about this, and this is already a decimal right here. How many decimals? It wants 2 decimals, so we'll go right there. And it started at the intercept of 0.36. It says 2 decimals, and that would round to 0.36 right there. So it increased each additional year. It increased by about this on average, and the starting point is the intercept. So they incorporate the intercept into their interpretation. What does this model predict for 2010? Well, 2010 is not what we would plug in when we solve this equation. Let's go ahead and show how to solve the equation and write out the equation mathematically here. When we write the equation, we need to know that this is B0 and this is B1. Let's take our graphic. I'm going to make myself awesome. Have some good lunch. Enjoy your time right there. Kristen, excellent work. And so we see here B0, B1. And now we need to take and write our equation that y hat equals B0 plus B1x. And so this is the percent that we're predicting is equal to B0, which is 0.356. I'm going to abbreviate. I don't want people to think you don't have to carry decimals. You have to carry decimals. Hey, Brianna, great to see you here. Drop a question in the chat if you got it. I've just been solving more questions because it's kind of open questions. And the X is years. Now, how do we know what the years would be? Well, it said the year 2010. The year 2010 means I need to plug in 60 because that's the difference right here. The difference is 60 years. So we're going to take right here and plug in 60 for the value of years. And it's 60 years since 1950. It's well beyond 1950 now. And let's go 60 times 0.243036. There's that. And then let's add to it the intercept. And there's the value. And does it say round to 1 decimal or something, or round to the nearest? Round to the nearest integer. Well, that's really nice of them. Didn't need to carry as many decimals, I think. And if you look at this right here, it should look like if you were to carry this forward into the future, it starts here at 0 and it gets up to about 7 or 8. So if you carried it forward, it would probably be at about 15. I think we're good. We'll cross our fingers on that one. Would you expect this prediction to be accurate? This is a what. Predicting at 60 is a what of the model. If you're in the morning class, you should know it like this. We'll be practicing this in the afternoon class. This is a what of my model. 100 points if you say it in the chat. It's down there in the answers. But we're predicting at 60 years since 1950. We're 60 years past. And so we're not at 30. Great job right there, Brianna. And so we're predicting 60 years ahead, and the model only goes to 30 years ahead. So this is a very big what of the model. Keyword extrapolation, Brianna, great job. It is an extrapolation of the model because we're outside the X bounds. And so keyword, we need to know extrapolation. And you'd be like, oh, you're kind of extrapolating your model. We're getting those hundreds today. No errors today. We got all that sleep during break. Good stuff. We did this one earlier. Let's do those multiple choices. We did those. So we only have 2 multiple choices. Let's go check it out. Man, I was going to say, gosh, man, we're just doing great today. I needed that sleep, that energy. Statue 1, Chapter 8, multiple choice. Let's go check it out. So much coffee. A variable that is not part of the model, but affects the way the variables in the model appear to be related is called a what variable. Now, this is something that is like a Z variable. If you're in the morning class, you know it, and great jokes and conversation in the morning class. But this is a Z variable not included. Lurker. It's lurking. It is a lurking variable. It's outside of it. So if you notice here, they have the X, they have the Y. Explanatory is the X, response is the Y. Great job right there, lurker. Lurking variable. That is quite excellent right there. I'd accept lurker. It's lurking. And we see that right here with the drawing we did in class today, where we talked about, is it money that has, is it TVs that help people live longer, or do people live longer because they own TVs? Well, it's probably that money. This is the variable outside of it. When a third variable outside the XY relationship really explains X and Y. And it's probably this Z variable that is explaining why do people live longer. So that is the real variable. It's lurking. It's not the XY variable. And so that's a lurking variable. I bet you extrapolation. Using a linear model to predict a value of Y for an X value. Now, this is the important part of extrapolation. Extrapolation is when we predict outside the X bounds of a model. And if you look at this right here, we'd have to extrapolate to predict years beyond, I think this is about 2010 or so, 2011. So if you predicted beyond 2011, your model would be extrapolating. Or if you predicted before, back here, if you predicted before like 1903, you'd be extrapolating. The model is only meant to predict in this range right here. So this would be an extrapolation to predict outside the bounds of the X's by which the model is created. So this would be extrapolation. We actually don't even talk about leverage or influential points, but extrapolation right here. Brianna, great work right there. We've actually pretty much done all of these now. Oh, we got one more. To look for outliers and to check the equal variance condition. Now, we don't call it equal variance. We call it plot does not thicken. A blank should be created. Ooh, this is a great condition. This is great right here. What do we look at to check the plot does not thicken? And we've got it from the notes today. What do we look at to check to see the plot does not thicken? What do we look at to check to see the plot does not thicken? What should we look at to check to see the plot does not thicken? So this is like the answer on the screen right now. What should we look at to see, like, okay, we'll look at this to see issues of the plot does not thicken. Because it deals with the residuals. So we should make a what? What should we look at to see if the plot does not thicken? Good look at over here. So what should we look at to see if the plot does not thicken? Be like, let's make a this to see the plot does not thicken. We should make a residual plot. A residual plot will help us examine if the plot gets thicker in certain areas. So, which sometimes I call it the equal variance. That's just another name for it. But we're going to look at a residual plot right here to see if the plot is thickening in the residual plot. Once again, plot thickening is when we see it's a different thickness, like here versus here. We want to see an equal. So sometimes people call it the equal variance condition. We prefer to call it plot does not thicken. And what you want to see is you want to see like a nice same pattern throughout this. This is talking about extrapolation here, but this has no plot thickening. And I have other graphics I drew earlier today where I was demonstrating no plot thickening. This is the same thickness throughout, and this is the residual plot right here. So make sure to understand what a residual plot is, where we take our regression, we make the line flat, and we can view every residual. So you have your actual plot right here, and then you have the residual plot. And same thing going on right here with this graphic, where you have your regression plot, take that line, make it flat, and it's a residual plot. So that's got it. I'll head back to the main screen. That's actually all of Chapter 8 quiz. So we completed Chapter 8 quiz. Any questions? We're just hanging out right now. Might grab a little bit of lunch. But what questions are there? Chapter 8 quiz complete. Chapter 8 quiz done. Let's see right here. Let me see. Gotta fix something. I have to fix the form thing. No. Good. We have no responses yet. Awesome. Fixing a form as we speak. Okay. Let me see if my form works properly. There we go. I'm ready for the Brandon, great to see you here. Let me know what questions you have. We're just hanging out at the moment. We've done all of Chapter 8 quiz, and might go grab some lunch in a moment. Chapter 8 quiz is complete. What questions do people have? Brianna, Brendan, let me know. I guess it's a relaxing day. What questions are people working on? Let's throw out 100 points. We're fixing a Google form issue right now. So we got that fixed up in 4 minutes. Terry emailed and we got it fixed up. I get so many random emails from like things like people wanting to like sell stuff to students. It's pretty interesting. It's like, hi, you teach college students. Do you want to use our new product? And the answer is no. It's, you know, like speaking from it's interesting because there's a lot of companies that want, you know, the college student market. But one of the things I like to do, and I'll talk about this here real briefly, is I think I'm going to find out, did I put FPP3 or FPP? Is I like to find free resources. When I was a college student years ago, a big thing to me is always that it is FPP. There it is. So this is a free book right here. And let's talk about free college resources. Wonder how many people will look at this. Check it out. Okay, so that link in the chat right there is for free college resources. I think it's absolutely awesome. This is a book by Rob Hindeman right here. Really great professor in Australia. And yeah, he does excellent work. And he's got a physical copy of the book right here, The Forecasting Principles and Practices. And you can learn how to do time series. What's interesting is, I don't think he says extrapolation at all here. Extrapolation. Oh, look at this. Look at a little extrapolation in here. But does he mention extrapolation? Just showing making predictions into the future. This is extrapolation. It is forecasting. You might say the fun thing that we're always like, well, we don't call it extrapolation. We call it forecasting. So he's making predictions going forward into the future. And what's really, really great about this is you can take his code right here, and I think we have it loaded up, and actually just run his models. So he does a pretty good job. You have to have the FPP3 library, which you can get by going here and doing install packages, FPP3. I'm using RStudio right now, and there's the bricks data. And he shows how most graphics are made. I think I went to the one thing. There's the model. And let's go take a look. So here's his model he's creating right here. And then he's visualizing this model. So I'm going to do a little practice right here, a little practice of visualizing this. Let's see if I can create his same visual. Because what he's done now is you have to actually have a forecast to visualize it. So we're going to go right here to a forecast of the model. And that is in the Fable tools. There's the forecast. And then we want to go to a auto plot. But when you do the auto plot, you only get the forecast of it. So is there like a general rate for how often extrapolation ends up being correct? So interestingly enough, this is really cool right here, Brandon. You asked that because I'm going to show you something about this, and I think, watch this. Oh no, object bricks not found. Really? Bricks is my data set, right? I'm gonna link my data set. Bricks, lost production bricks. It's always mad at me. He does it, and I always get this code wrong. Like, this is a code I need to practice, hence why I'm doing it. And this will answer your question right here. See, he doesn't... I get a little bit mad at him because he makes these nice plots right here, and then he doesn't show his exact code for creating the plot unless there's... No, he doesn't. I get a little bit mad about that because he does such a good job of showing his code, and then he doesn't show the code for that. Oh, wait, here we go. Here it is. He's fitting all the models, though. Auto layer. That's what I need to do. I need to auto layer it. So he's piping it through that. There's his models. And then I'll answer your question right here with this. There's the forecast. He saves the forecast. Forecast is brought through auto layer. Should be able to auto layer. I don't use enough auto layer. Could we just auto layer the forecast on it? Let me try this. Bricks. I can get my auto layer. Auto plot and bricks. That should. There we go. So here's the bricks data. And then what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to add an auto layer. And then this will answer the question here about extrapolation. Auto layer. There it is. And now let's auto layer the forecast. And we'll say bricks forecast. And let's auto layer that. It's mad. It's always mad. I'm going to take his code almost directly now. He's fitting. He's running his train data through that. He's running his models on it. He's just creating his multiple models right here. Okay. We don't need to use training data. We are going to take this and let's look. There's the forecast. Wait, we're not going to run the train. We're going to run the bricks. And we're going to run bricks. And we're just going to run the one model. And there's his model fit like we did to ours. So bricks fit. And there's that. And then he's forecasting. Oh, there's the forecast. So there's the fit and there's the forecast. Okay, and then we're running right here. Okay, so here's the important part. He takes his forecast, and with his forecast, he auto plots his original data on it. Okay, so then we need to take our original data, which is the bricks data, and we might... There we go. Okay, so here's to the original question. So with this right here, copy paste is the number one thing. Thank you for hanging out right here, Brandon, as I have a little bit of fun right here and messing around with some data. The number one thing to know is when you're doing forecasts right here, where do you think forecasting would be most accurate, Brandon? Like if you were to look at a forecast right here and I were to do a model called like the seasonal naive. So if I call this the S naive model, you see it's already trying to do the autocomplete. So if I were to do the seasonal naive model on this, and we were to make a forecast, where do you think the forecast is probably going to be most accurate, which is when we're extrapolating? So this is actually an extrapolation into the future. Where do you think the forecast is going to be most accurate in this forecast? Like if you had to guess, where do you think the forecast would be most accurate? Because I could do the following. I could do this. Now this is a little bit scary right here, and let's try and make it look even prettier. It's not gonna like it. Did you pull me? No, it never does it. It never likes that line. It does not like the auto layer. Where do you think the forecast would be most accurate? And this is an extrapolation of our model. So this is extrapolation. And where do you think we would be most accurate making predictions if we are extrapolating into the future? And once again, I can extrapolate as much as I want. I can do crazy things, which are horrible ideas. Where do you think I would be most accurate extrapolating with our model? Which this is a horrible idea right now. Where do you think my model would be most accurate extrapolating? So if I'm extrapolating into the future, which we call forecasting in 475, right where exactly. So that's why you don't do something crazy like this. Great answer, Brendan, right there. You don't do crazy things like this. You might forecast 10 periods into the future, and then you might say, well, here's where we think we'll be. This is our estimate. Now, we should be able to add confidence intervals to this because he actually shows that, which is really cool. Let's add those in because that's something we'll talk about in 201. And he shows it in one of these. It's the... remember the name of the code. So, delta method, intervals. There we go. Forecasting, no. We should see. There's an interval. Level, auto plot. Here we go. Auto plot, because this is a confidence interval right here. Find rows. You know that. Where's his model's right there? Do we just say level? No way is it that simple. Inside the auto plot? Oh, level equals null. It's not showing up though. Concatenate. Let me try this. Let's see. Why is it the same color? Oh, it's auto. I think it's doing it for the... Oh, it's because of the bricks. Let's try to fix that. That's the issue. Filter, model. It's only taking that model. Google Forecast, auto plot. Very broad, but can you refresh my brain on what we're learning for break? Yes, we were doing regression. We're actually talking about some models right now. So we were doing, this is 201, right? So we were doing regression. We did a lot of regression examples at the start, but Sienna, if you want a question for us to go over, we can do that. We're looking at regression time series stuff right now. So time series, the same sort of idea of you've got like an X and Y variable that are both quantitative. Well, the good news is we don't usually worry about the hieroglyphic stuff right here where we're doing that sort of stuff. We worry more about the idea of, and this is what I like right here. If you look at what we're doing, we are talking about like X and Y variables that are both quantitative. And then we're talking about like time series patterns where we might see things that are decreasing, or we might see a seasonal pattern that is increasing. But with this, we're talking about, is there like a monthly pattern? So we're more interested in doing the code right here. And do you see the pattern in this data? That's what statistics is all about right here, is trying to find patterns. So we might say this is electricity demand every 30 minutes. And why do you notice it kind of has all these different bumps? Because not only is there kind of this trend right here, but there's how many bumps in this graphic? How many different bumps are there with electricity demand? Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why would this be? Because we see down here on the bottom 1 what? And that kind of explains why we see this trend. And then it's interesting to me that the weekends are that much lower. So you kind of see like weekdays are pretty similar. And this is like every Monday, like the pink right here would be like 1 week of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then like the green is like a different week. So it's kind of color coded by what week it is. And you kind of see that maybe there's differences among the week. Air conditioning, maybe, yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe people are, the air conditioning is going to be a big cost, especially during the day. But at nighttime, you notice right here, this is when Friday starts. So this is going to be like midnight right here. And so around midnight, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. is the lowest electricity usage every day. And then it kind of raises up in the morning. And then midday, it kind of drops. And then it raises up at night and then it drops back down. So that's what we kind of look at in time series right here, all these different patterns that we could get. And we want to understand these patterns and talk about them and explain them to people. So we use a lot of graphics and we use a lot of code to do that. So it's a lot of fun doing this. And this brings us back to what we're doing in 201 right here, because we're doing regression right now in 201. So if we look at regression right here, you can see regression is used all throughout time series to do this. Let's go to, he's got time series regression right here and the linear model. This is what we're doing. Right here, this is a what? What would we call this distance right here in green? So this is a good review right here. What is that distance in green called? Who knows for 100 points? This distance in green, and look, B0 plus B1x, they're using beta because it's the truth. But we have here, this is the what right here. Sometimes called a disturbance in the true model, which this is the true model, but we would call it right now in 201 a what. So you're seeing the same concepts, which is great. I always like connecting the upper level classes to like what 201's doing. We would call that distance from the actual and the predicted. So the line gives predictions, and the point right here is the actual. So this is where it actually is at. That's the actual value of y. That's the predicted, and this distance right here is known as a what. Like in 201, when we're using estimates, that would be the what right there. So the actual minus the predicted, the E, the residual. Yep, Brandon, great work right there. That's a residual. I think you might call it a disturbance. It's an error residual right here. We just call it a residual. Sometimes they call it a disturbance in the true model, but it's just how much we miss by. How far away is it from the model? That distance is the distance it's not away from the line, or it's away from the line. So we could solve the equation, then add to it the residual or the error that it has and get the actual value. Just showing some more graphics, showing a regression line through the data, all this great stuff right here. And then look right here. What is this in terms of notation? So this is the notation we should know, Brendan, another 100 points. The intercept in terms of notation is the what? Well, there it is on the screen. The intercept in terms of notation would be what value? Like in notation terms, and we'll look at it in jump over here. In notation terms, the intercept, which look at how similar these outputs look, is the what value. Like that intercept value right there, which is this intercept, not the same value, but in the same spot. Outputs look generally similar between different software. The intercept, which is here, and the intercept, which is here, is known as what in output. Like if we say, oh, in an equation, we would say it's this. And we kind of see it. Well, there it is right there. But we see it in notation up here, which they're talking about the true model, so they're using betas. We don't talk about the true model, so we would say it's this. So what would we call it in our class, since we're not doing true models? And we might have, we do have it right here. We call it B0. If it's the truth, then it's beta 0, which I'm not a big fan of talking about the truth as though we know it. I say everything's an estimate. I don't know. It's stat theory is interesting. How is this making sense right here? I really love this book. It's such a free resource. And this is a real college book right here. It's a real resource. He could be charging, a lot of crazy prices for college books out there, $100, $200 for a book. But he's like, I want this to be the book people use. So I'm putting it out there free. And so if you want to see about coding, it's meant to be at a very very easy level to read, starting out with like, what is forecasting? Like, why do we do it? Explaining the goals right here, walking through the short term, the long term forecast, and just goes through everything. Yeah, and then he does it really well, like talking about quantitative and all this stuff. But yeah, he does a good job and shows the forecast right here. See, why does he not give the code for that? Everything you show a graphic of, you should show the code for. Maybe it just costs too much code. But yeah, it's really cool right here. So if you want to check this book out, Mubot put the link in the chat. I'll do it again. But this is a good kind of view into what we're doing in some of the upper level classes. And he walks through and shows a lot of the code. It's written at a pretty easy to understand level. And there's so many cool things in here, like to solve it right here and to do it. But yeah, I really like it. Lag plots. And he shows the code mostly. There's the code for this. So you can take the code, and if he's been nice, you can get the plots like this. Will this one ggplot? Let's see. We'll end on the big question. And the answer is, oh, it does. That's awesome. I didn't think it would. We can actually remove the data points. What? So this is what we can do right here pretty quickly and easily is we can create some pretty nice graphics. And you know what's interesting about this? This is actually correlation. So we're actually seeing that there's the highest amount of correlation right here at lag 4, which indicates a positive correlation between this year's quarter and last year's quarter, because this is quarterly data. But right here, doing data analytics, hopefully. Yeah, Brandon, let me know if you have any questions. There's always so much to learn with data analytics. Going to sites like Stack Overflow, great resources right there. But yeah, check it out. Well, we're going to head off. I'm going to start preparing for class. But if you have questions, let me know. We'll be back here in a little bit. Until then, bye for now, everyone. Bye.